at the best.
Well, let's
So
fill it up.
let's crank it.
Um, so Bell, I mean, I really don't know. This is being the first time that we've met. Um, I just want to get to um, know a little bit more about you and know like how did you come to find the Cav and what are the some of the really what drove you not only to find the Cav but also to kind of take lead of Charlie ACD and get the ball rolling on not only just like Hell Let Loose but console players. What really drove you into the Milsim space, and then uh, kind of start to command the pioneer aspect of your company.
Sure. Well, I guess that's a pretty deep story, but I guess I'll give you the relatively abbreviated version. So, uh, I started playing Hell Let Loose on console the day it launched on console. So I'd been kind of keeping tabs on that for some time beforehand, when it was launched on PC, but I don't have a PC that I use. So, kind of kept tabs on it when it launched. Got on the game, was playing heavily. Started with a couple little ragtag groups. They were on there. Nothing crazy, nothing official. They were just kind of like just play groups with a bunch of people, and was going along and really thought that since this game was so organized, I felt that organized play was super important. So I kind of had in the back of my mind that I was looking to join some sort of clan group, and I got hit up by a recruiter randomly, that was, I guess, scrolling through Discord groups that were doing Hell Let Loose, and I was on one, and so I guess I started gaining interest at that point. Took a peek and dove right in and joined BACD, and just kind of, I mean, the rest is kind of rolled downhill from there. But the leadership aspect of it started relatively early. I got in here. I joined a squad, and the squad was uh, kind of a newly formed squad, and I was looking to kind of rank up and join up really quickly. I felt like my my I don't want to sound braggy, but my skills in that aspect were pretty good, so I didn't want to kind of let that go to waste. I'm very familiar with military environment. I really wanted to join the military when I was younger, but I decided ultimately not to. I went to police academy instead, and I spent the first decade of my uh, you know real time in a career doing police work. So I'm very familiar with structured environments and militaristic style environments, as police is kind of paramilitary.
Right.
So I actually, ironically enough, when I joined, I was a captain of a police department. So it was kind of an interesting environment coming in there. And so I joined up, started that, and once very quickly I was able to get squad leader of my own squad. I started an engineering based squad, which was kind of a dive into MOS specific stuff that we've never done before. So I started an engineering squad. We did very well in there for a relatively short period of time, and then I was asked to kind of start up an armor section, which I did, which is still running today. So I'm very proud of that. So we kind of started their armor section, and then kind of as time went along, I ended up being the company's first sergeant for a period of time. It wasn't that long, but I was the company first sergeant for a bit, and then the CO and XO retired and kind of rolled into that spot. So that's kind of how I ended up in the spot I am today. I've been in there about a year as of right now as a CO, and that's kind of the story.
Right. And so it is always just a funny story about how it's always something super simple and like a recruiter, and that's a huge shout out to the recruiters. And they found you on a Discord that wasn't even our own, and you know really means they really know how to pick them. But you know I'm sorry, my dog's getting all over my lap.
Oh, you're good.
But so what console do you play on?
Xbox, the
Oh,
superior
okay.
system.
The sup- the superior system, yeah. Uh, I'm a diehard Xbox kid as well. Like I played on the 360. I played like the Halo games, Gears of War. Um, but like what you know, and what's really cool nowadays is that like console players are finally starting to get some real centric milsim games. You know,
Yeah.
obviously like Hell Let Loose is the easy ticket. Like that's the easy ticket to sell because of the nature of the game. I mean, at maximum, you're out for like a minute tops, and then for minimum, you're out for like 20 seconds. And something as opposed to like Arma, where you might have to you might have to like re-kit, and then there's the drive out there or the flight out to the battle space again. Unless it's like a real arcadey style mission, I mean that's just not available to a console player. But you know, in what I also love about the Hell Let Loose space is that it it actually is really well done for a console game because you're not dealing with complex systems. We're talking about just like legacy warfare. Iron sights, very minimal optics. The most advanced technology on the battlefield is the tanks. Uh, and I think that lends really well to the console experience. But how familiar are you with like something like Armor Reforger?
I mean, I've seen the game. I think it actually there was a couple of Armor versions that came out on Xbox. Played it for a little bit, just trial stuff, but it's just not my cup of tea. So
All right. So so you kind of are more married to I really don't want I have no other words to explain other than the arcadey style of Hell Let Loose. I know it's not arcadey, and I truly I wince at describing it as so, but
mhm.
comparing it from like an Armor Forger to Hell Let Loose, it is arcadey. But if you take Hell Let Loose and compare it to almost any other FPS, it is a milsim title, and
Right.
uh, so another question that I really have, and this is Hell Let Loose centric, is how you guys tackle the technical difficulties that come with it being a console port with no server browsers. And
Jeez.
I would like to know a little bit more about those challenges and how you've overcome them. I mean, are you guys getting in like an Xbox party, or is there, what system are you using?
Yeah, well, to just to round final that last question you had, the only reason I don't play other things is because I'm kind of a World War II freak. I do a lot of stuff in my real life, including reenactment stuff with the Museum of National Pacific War. So that's kind of really what's kept me here more than anything. But uh, so console has a lot of unique challenges. For one, we're kind of the stepchild of the computer version. So the computer version is always going to have a little better support. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's no server browser. It's been something that's been kind of alluded at since day one, and they keep kind of throwing teasers out there. Yeah, it's coming, but we've never actually seen it come, even though they've kind of announced some progress towards that recently. But so like right now, if you're in a squad practice or whatever, every single match, regardless of what it is, squad practice or not, what you run into is that we're in public games. So it has its own set of unique challenges in that we can't do a lot of things like, in let's say, for example, Hell Let Loose PC, they can enter a private server and do, qualifications. They've got no randoms on the map. They've got no one bothering you. They've got no one coming over wondering what you're doing. So we have to deal with those challenges already. Before very relatively recently, they came out with a what I'm going to coin as a semi server browser. So you can now select the region in which you are, a
Oh,
server is. So for example, I can select. Asia or South America or whatever. So
Right.
you can kind of select servers now, sort of, right? It's just regional. Uh, the game had that since day one, but it never actually worked really. So before that, what we would do is we essentially, let's say there's a 10-man SP. Everyone searches for a game. We find a very low population server, and then everyone joins in off of that person. Um, Now for SPs, depending on what they're working on, they have the ability, especially since most of our squad practices are kind of in the evening in US time. They go into you know a, a EU server or somewhere that it's very late AM. They're usually able to get into servers that have 4 or 5 people in it, and that usually suffices depending on what they're working on. Of course, the lag's terrible, but generally that's allowed us to get some things done. Like we just recently did tank qualifications for the first time, and we were able to get into an LLMains map with literally no one on it. I think there was like 2 guys on the other side, and they were just practicing things as well. So it
Oh
was pretty
wow.
convenient. But yeah, so we have some. We've recently kind of come to getting those challenges. But like when we have operations, as an example, it's a very unique challenge because we get into a game, we rally up, we're roll calls done, we've got our op boards laid out, and then it's like, all right, cool, now we got to find a server. Now let's say there's 35 of us. Well, we have to find a server that has less than 20 people if we want to get everyone in.
Right.
So it essentially takes 35 people looking for a server at the same time. It doesn't take that long. Usually, 5-10 minutes we have a server. We just find a very low population server, load everybody in, and then essentially we have to burn a game to let the server populate. And then once the server populates, we're able to kind of get going on our operation. So it's it's interesting. It's I know in clan, because there's a whole people's league, there's a whole like competitive league that's out there as well, and they have their own challenges. Unfortunately, it's gotten a kind of a bad rep because they kick people to make room, and we've kind of made a hard set rule that we're not doing that.
Right.
So in competitive play, it's a little difficult because they're playing sometimes 50v50, so they have to kick everybody out that's not in their group. But
Right.
outside of that, for what we do and how we do it, we've kind of managed to get around it. It's just it was more annoying in the before we had server, because now you can kick people out of servers. That's also another recent addition. So when we'd have people would find out we'd be doing something, and they would start killing us and whatever. And there's nothing we could do about it. We just kind of had to take it. But now there's some recourse in that. But that's how we get around it, and it works fairly well. It's just annoying,
Right.
But other than being annoying, it's functional.
Right. 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 So you were talking a little bit about yourself outside of the Cav, uh, the historical group, and your reenactment group. So what kind of kit
Yeah.
do you roll? Do you do like Pacific Army, Marine Corps?
Yeah, so I have the great pleasure to live very close to the greatest Pacific War museum in the world. It's the National Museum of the Pacific War. It's in Fredericksburg, Texas. Um, and I work with a group there of living history historians called Company K, and I've been doing that since 2016. So I've been in there a hot minute. One of the older guys in there now. Uh, I specifically started in that group doing because it's all Pacific theater, right? So my great grandfather served in the 77th with and he fought several island battles and ended up getting wounded on Okinawa. So he was in the U.S. Army. So I started doing U.S. Army. We portray both in the battles that we do. So the museum purchased in 2015, started building a $1.3 million amphitheater, which is a beautiful amphitheater. It's got an amphitheater crowd section, and then there's actually a small, I don't know, it's probably 2 acre battlefield that is a Japanese fortification that's built up on a hill. It's got a bunker system. It's got a trench system, several trench systems. It's got a beach hip front that comes off up into the crowd, and then there's a actual functional Higgins landing craft on the left, and that's where the U.S. Army comes out
You
of.
said you said
Um,
original and functional.
It is an original, and it is functional. Now, it's functional in the sense that they've rebuilt it. I mean, it doesn't
Right,
float.
right,
So it's on a track, and it comes out over what looks like water. You can't see it from the crowd, but it comes
right.
out and actually hits the end of that thing, and the ramp comes down, and U.S. Army comes barreling off of that, and then on the right side, uh, the Marine Corps comes out of an LVT, and they come out and fight from that position, and essentially they fight their way up this bunker system, and then the the finale to the battle is that a actual functional flamethrower that we have goes up, and we flame the top bunker for the crowd at the end, and raise the American flag, win the battle. It's a really cool deal. We do it about I think we do it about 6 times a year, and then every month we do smaller shows that are centered around something very specific. But after the first year, I stopped doing infantry. I got asked to start working in the armor section there, and so I am the tank commander for our M3A1 Stuart. It is a 1943, excuse me, 42 production, October 42 production M3A1 original Stuart. It's
You get to
pretty cool.
drive around a Stewart.
Yeah, I get to drive
That's
around.
super cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm the commander. I don't drive so much anymore, but I get to sit on top of the turret, and we get to fire the main gun, and she still, as we call it, shooting and scooting. She's like 80, I don't know, whatever it is. She is now 86 or something like that.
Wow.
The museum recently acquired an M5 Stewart, which I'm super excited about. We got it from a museum in Ohio. She's not functional right now. She's going through a complete engine rebuild where we took the engine all the way out and cleaned everything, and we need some parts, and essentially we're going to rebuild her and get her going, which will be a great addition to the museum. So we can be able to swap armor units, different battles, and show off these wonderful machines that are still getting around. And anyway, that's a lot of fun. So I've been doing armor for them, so that's kind of where passion lies, which is why I did the armor unit here in the Cav.
Right, right. That's also and I mean, do you do this in? You obviously don't do this full time, but it
No,
does. It
no.
does obviously take a lot of time out of your.
Yeah, we volunteer. Generally, it's every other month. I mean, I've been doing it.
Oh,
We've been
okay.
doing it for a long time. So we have several training events a year that we do. 1 day training events, and then we do our shows. Every year it takes, like I said, we do about six or seven shows a year. It takes a weekend of your time. The thing about this history, and this is why Hell Let Loose especially has a special spot for me, because it is historical. It means something. I mean, an entire generation of Americans, well, and worldwide for that matter, not just Americans, but many, many countries, obviously allied, fought for freedom. And to be able to even have a taste or be a part of the the glory, and not just glory, I guess that's not even a good word, but like just the sense of duty that you have to keep this history alive is there. And I think that things like even World War II games, and this one being authentic, it's not some Call of Duty crap where they put, I think in the last Call of Duty Modern Warfare game they put like a red dot on a M1 Garand, stuff like that. Like it's it's very
It
historically
hurts.
based.
It hurts so
Yeah,
much when you see that.
I know. I mean, there's some exceptions, like you're playing on Omaha and Utah Beach, and a Tiger tank rolls up, which didn't happen. There are some
Right,
things that kind
right.
of that happen, but generally speaking, just being able to be a part of that history and keep it alive, and just to honor those veterans that served so many years ago, and my great grandfather included, and many, many, many others, is just great. And that's why I do that. Obviously play hella loose, but that's also why I do what I do at the museum, because it keeps that history alive, and for the next generation to see what they did. So
Right. That's an incredible story to tell. I mean, just the I mean, not even just the experience for yourself, but just like that spiritual connection to ultimately world history is, I mean, that's what I get when I hear you talk, and I can hear the smile on your face as you're talking about it. I mean, it feels like you truly are spiritually connected to this material.
yeah, I am. And every time I do it, there's always this like, what am I doing this for? This is a waste of time. Not waste of time, but you know what I mean? Like, I've been doing
Right.
this a
Yeah.
long time. It's time to hang it up. And I just can't come anywhere near doing it because every time a 7 or 8 year old kid comes up to me in the tank after the show and smiles and has a little World War II helmet on and smiles and go, I really love this history, and thanks us for doing it. It's just like I just started again. You know what I mean? It just
Right.
revitalizes it. And it's one thing that I get out of this too is that there's a great pleasure to meet some of these gentlemen. Now, granted, every single one of them at this point is really, really old. I think the youngest that comes is 99, 98 type
Yeah.
deal. But and those are the ones that lied about their age to get in. But those folks they're going to be gone, and in 10 years they will absolutely be gone, and it's sad. So it's great to be able to honor them while they're still alive and see that the memory of these great deeds that they did. I mean, the Pacific Campaign, if you ever have an opportunity to read about anything that this gentleman did, it'll just blow your mind. I could not imagine sitting in 1943 in the jungle on the side of a muddy road in a Stewart tank waiting for buttoned up in 105-degree weather, 99% humidity, waiting for someone to run up with a mine. It just blows my mind that those gentlemen did that. Just the sheer, for lack of better words, the sheer balls on these guys. You know what I mean? To do what they did,
Yeah. I
and
mean, it was a
you know,
sense of duty. I mean,
sure,
it truly was. I mean, and there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of stories of bravery by by very brave men who ultimately, they answered that call, and uh, we're all connected to it.
yeah. Well, one of the best parts about it too is that it's not just men but women. The cool thing about the museum is they do a great job in portraying women's, what they did, because the women
Yes.
had a significant role. A huge number of women enlisted and had various roles from the wasp pilots all the way to nurses and field clerks and so on. So they had played a huge role as well. But it's cool to see the story from the Japanese side also, because I know they were our enemy, but they were human beings and they're people, and they had regular lives like everybody else and got conscripted, and here they are. And it's cool to see that story from all angles, and just to kind of be a part of that human connection too. Is It's great.
Yes, and that is yeah, and I'm happy that you mentioned that, because I mean, ultimately at the end, uh, we're all just human. We're all susceptible to systems in place that end up putting us at the end of each other's guns. And it's all just, it's for one reason or another. And
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend, not to throw a plug in here randomly, but I highly recommend that if anyone is in the Fredericksburg, Texas area, to visit the museum and to see if there's a show going on, because you definitely want to go check it out. It's pacificwarmuseum.org. It's a great organization, and if you have an opportunity to go just to see the museum, it'll probably take you 3 hours to get through it. It's such a great museum. But
I'll
if you have
have
an
to,
opportunity,
yeah, I'll have to put that on my list. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
what was the website one more time for those
It's
who are listening?
it's it's pacificwarmuseum.org, or you can Google the National Museum of the Pacific War. That'll take you to the website. You can check it out. It has our hours, operations, and then of course it has all of our living history program schedules on it as well.
All right, that is awesome. That's an really awesome thing to do. Um, but moving back into the Cav,
Sure.
um, how is so obviously you joined um, Charlie, uh, not from the get go, but you found him. And what it, there wasn't much adjustment to kind of the Cav duties, correct? You mentioned you were part of uh, the police force, and there wasn't much adjustment, at least culture wise.
No, not really. I mean, like I said, the police world's very paramilitary, so not a whole lot. Very structured, very straightforward. Matter of fact, interestingly enough, very governmental. So you come in here, it's kind of some of the things that go on in the Cav. It's all things that you see in a real world environment. So there wasn't a
Right.
whole lot of adjustment, but you, it's this brotherhood is the one thing that I'd never get used to is the true brotherhood. I say brotherhood. I use that word generically. Obviously, we got sisters in our
Right.
organization
Right.
as well, but like I use that word because it truly is that. I think what our CAV motto, it's more than a gaming organization or whatever, and it's 100% true. It's so much deeper than that, and that's actually what's not hard to get used to, but it truly is something that keeps people coming back and staying, and it's so much more than just a group. It's truly just it's a great organization for I would argue you could even lifetime organization where you could stay in here and be in here forever, and have this great group of friends that you have, and it's just it's a wonderful organization.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I've spent like on and off like I don't know, a decade, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I joined when I was 16 here, and then life has just taken me in certain directions, and I've come
sure,
and then I've gone, and uh, but I've always came back. Like there was no other milsim group. If I was ever going to come and play milsim or come and enjoy a larger community where I can tap into like-minded people, it always was the Cav. I wasn't going to anywhere else.
sure.
And it never mattered like play style. It never mattered. Uh, It never mattered like game. It just mattered if it was organized, and that's like the one thing that the Cav has always been able to deliver, at least for me, was organizational and tactical play. It's one thing to play tactical, like jump in a Hell Let Loose server, or jump in a Call of Duty server and kind of play tactically with your friends. And that could be a Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday sort of thing. But if you really want to, you know, take yourself to an organizationally superior level where everyone understands their roles. We you always get on at the same hour at the same day of the week, um, or even uh, maybe once a month. It's a company size, so you're trying to get as many people together and everyone knows their job. And I've only ever been able to really find that here in the Cav. And but even just beyond the organization or organization of the community and the organization itself, it's also just kind of like the uh, the thing that the Cav has always kind of strove to do, which is um, bring significance to gamer relationships. You know, uh, the Cav is much more than just like gamer dudes getting on and playing games. It's dudes who genuinely care for each other, who genuinely, want to hear from one another, who are friends. And, you know, uh, even when it really is like it's a weird but and tough topic for me to bring up, but even when gamers pass away, you know, we're constantly finding news articles of CAV members who were in, and they passed away a couple years ago, and then we find them and we make sure that they're not forgotten. And it's one of those things that I don't see very often in other communities, where in the CAV it's a constant. It's a constant. We're proud of that constant where we uh, it doesn't matter if you were here for a week or you're here for years. You know, uh, your presence here was a gift, and we're gonna make sure that we hold on to that gift for the lifetime of the organization. And I think it's just a beautiful thing that we do, and I think that's why also we are brotherhood.
Yeah, I mean, there. I've had many gamer friends. I mean, I've been gaming online, on console since I don't know 2000 and probably probably 2005. And I've met many, 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 many people, obviously, in all the games that I've played. And outside of one person that I can have in my head, there's never. I mean, me and like the first sergeant, for example, we've actually met. He drove over here. We like you hung out. There's no other organization where you meet people that if I was to travel near other cab members, there's no question that I would reach out and be like, hey, can we link up and hang out for a little bit. No other group that I know of that does stuff like that on a regular basis, and that you have that drive. And it's because of that close knitness of this group. And we've had a lot of people over the years leave Bravo Company. Quite a bit of people have left, and we constantly have people a year later going, hey, I'm ready to come back, or hey, whatever. The life gets in the way and it happens. But this the feeling and the positivity you get by being in the group doesn't ever usually leave.
Oh my God. I've been called. Oh my gosh, I feel like an idiot. I've been saying you're from Charlie Company. Oh my gosh. I'm so
That's
glad
okay.
you waited 30 minutes to correct me. Oh,
I've waited longer than that. You said it at the very beginning, but it's all good.
oh my
It's just one
gosh.
of those. it's, it's no big deal. But yeah, no, this group is something else. And
It
that's why we keep
is.
doing it. And that's why, and I'm going to say this on behalf of all my leadership staff, from the squad leaders all the way up to me. But we do this stuff to keep this organization going for our people. Like, we have a lot of folks that put in a lot of work, that quick shout out to obviously all the S1 S3 folks, everyone that does everything on the back end that makes this organization tick. There's quite a bit that goes into everything we do, and everyone putting together and pulling together to make that happen as an organization is very important.
And, and that it is, yeah. I completely agree. The folks of Bravo Company ACD, you guys do. I'm sure you guys do a very very good job, and I'm sure the guys all the way down to the bottom of the COC, the SLs, the dudes in the trenches, the guys building practices for their guys, and not just practices of techniques and tactics, but also just practices that are fun, and coming week after week and rallying the guys uh, and your platoon sergeants and your platoon leaders, kind of directing everyone. Everyone has some sort of little input to the end troopers' enjoyment, and ultimately, like we wouldn't be as successful. You guys wouldn't be as successful if there wasn't a ultimately a market for this sort of community. You guys are like 70 bodies strong. The Cav is almost at 700 people. It is, if there wasn't a market for this sort of gaming environment, I mean, the Cav would have been gone years ago. Um, and I mean, it does come down to the guy in the trench building the SP, all the way up to the dudes who handle the money. We're all here for the same purpose, and that is the fun. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think
and they all do it for the guys and girls, so that way they can have a great time. And that's another thing that makes this organization tick so well. And I'm sure all the other companies and battalions do that as well. But it's just one of the great joys of continuing in this community, and being able to make these environments fun, and have fun as well. To get in and play the game. And Hell Let Loose lets us do that, as much as it can be flawed occasionally on console and have its issues. We've had a developer change and a bunch of stuff mid game, and it's been an interesting ride. But the game it's still fun. They're coming out with new content. We're about to drop a new map here relatively soon, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
alrighty, Captain. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your night. So I kind of want to end this on one last question. And what do you think the future for Bravo Company is going to be?
well, we've had kind of a rocky up and down as time's been going along in recruiting, because the issue is like console. unlike PC, console has a little less attention span. So we get people, come and go all the time simply because, games change and it's a console type,
Right.
background. But as far as us go, I mean, the future is very bright. I mean, the game doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. The support, if anything, has ramped up over the years for it. As much as everyone likes to, you know, play grim and doom, the game is moving in a positive direction. We're moving towards, a lot of different things that are great, like server selection and so on. So, there's some things that are going to make our lives easier as it's going along, and we're relatively close to battalion strength. We're getting, we're getting there. We've been up there before and gone down, and we're on our way back up. And it's one of those things that I see us in the next year or so, at battalion level and chugging along as strong as ever. So I'm pretty excited about it.
All right. So let me hit you with another angle before I let you
Okay.
go.
Sure.
What if I'm not keeping up on Hell Let Loose because I'm an Arma guy. I do enjoy
Hmm.
Hell Let Loose. I love it. The only thing I didn't really like was the release of the British. It was rocky at first. They got there, but
I mean, it's still a little rocky, but I hear you.
yeah, just a little bit still. But what what would happen? And what would happen? Just play with me here. What would happen
Sure.
if crossplay came to Hell Let Loose, like true PC and console?
I don't know. I mean, I think they've been very staunchly against it from the beginning. So I doubt they're going to do that. But if it did, I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing. I mean, we wouldn't have a problem in being a part of the larger PC community. I don't know ultimately how that would pan out, but if it did, obviously we would consider being a part of that. But if console could live on in that environment, I think we would. And I mean, to me, if they're more player pool, there's more chance for recruitment, whether they come to us from one way or the other. So I think it might be mutually beneficial if there was ultimately a cross-play option that because we recruit all day long. If PC guys recruit all day long, and they just happen to come across an Xbox player, so I think that might, in the end, benefit us long term as far as numbers go. But we'll see. Like I said, that it sounds fun hypothetically, but I think they're really against it. So maybe that'll be the case, but we'll see. Only time will tell, I suppose.
Well, see, I'm still waiting on consoles to do the smart thing and allow people to uh, use keyboards and mice, but you know,
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to. I don't like to make claims that I'm an old man, but when it comes to gaming, I kind of am, and it's one of those things. It's like I started off on console years and years ago, and computers were coming up when I was a kid. So I don't have as much. I mean, I'm not slow or illiterate by any means, but
Right.
when I the first computer game I ever played regularly was Battlefield 1942, like in 2002, 2003. So my keyboard time on gaming has been a lot less, and so that may be a time for some of the old dinosaurs to die off. We'll see, but
Well,
uh,
if it works, it works, right? It's
yeah,
whatever you get the most enjoyment out of.
sure.
And all right, well, Captain, I appreciate the interview. I appreciate talking. I definitely appreciate you sharing your work at the National Pacific War Theater or Museum. I'm sorry, and like incredible uh, excerpts of your experience there. Um, one more time, could you give us the website and the location of your museum?
Sure. So the museum is the National Museum of the Pacific War. That's in Fredericksburg, Texas. If you ever go, it's a great German town, lots of great food. The website is pacificwarmuseum.org. Y'all should check it out. Check out our program. Hit it up on YouTube. You'll see me rolling around in the tank, and it's a lot of fun. So if y'all are ever in the area, come check it out and give me a shout. I'll come and have dinner with you or something.
Already a hell of an invitation to the Greater Cav. Uh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're
I want to have you on again.
you're welcome, Sergeant Taylor. Anytime.